Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Baseball Talk Radio Show. I am Gary Mack, and I'm joined, as usual, by the great Rich Baxter. Rich, how are you?
How are you? Thank you very much for the introduction. Happy Memorial Day weekend to you.
As well, and Rich, it's really funny to see some teams not playing on what is considered Memorial Day, and that is Monday the 29th. Uh, Memorial Day doubleheaders used to be part of the deal, and July the 4th and all the holidays. And now they've taken that away from us, and some teams don't even play on the holiday anymore.
Yeah, it's amazing. As you said, our favorite teams, the Phillies and the Mets, happen to be off on that day. So
Mm-hmm.
they have the holiday. But yeah, a lot of the other teams, most of the other teams are playing. But yeah, as you said, it's Memorial Day weekend. We're going to have a national moment of remembrance, and teams will wear memorial uniform elements this year as well as an observation of the holiday, and it'll be pretty cool.
And yeah, that's just what they do. Last weekend, was that the Memorial Day hats they were wearing, or was that
That
something
was
else?
the Armed Services
Um,
Day, which was May 20th.
So I guess they'll have something new now for Memorial Day, but the machinery of Major League Baseball keeps churning out those hats and jerseys, and uh, money is flowing in. And Rich, Tampa Bay has been the team this year so far. I mean, they've got the best record, got off to a terrific start, and they did something pretty exciting last evening.
Yes, they did. Happened to steal 7 bases, which is amazing considering you couldn't, sometimes steal 7 bases in a month. But now all of a sudden teams can steal at will, and they happen to steal 7 times in one game.
Well, it's those new rules, I guess, Rich, and they're taking advantage of it. They are taking off, and uh, you know they're hit. They're just doing everything at this point in time. They're hitting homers, driving guys in, stealing bases, and I mean, it's a long season. Here we are, Memorial Day, which is the official beginning of summer, and a big, really a big weekend. Used to be more of a big weekend for the baseball, uh, but still a lot of baseball to be played. But boy, the Rays are really making a statement this year.
Yeah, they are. They've jumped out ahead of everybody, and they've stayed out ahead of everybody. I know um, they have a guy that used to pitch for the Phillies, and um, scuttlebutt was, oh, why did we get rid of him? He's doing so well with the with Tampa, but Tampa as a team is doing well, and he's just along for the ride because we remember how he could be. But yeah, a lot of people are pointing to that and saying, now he can pitch because he's not on the Phillies anymore. And of course, I'm referring to Zach Eflin. If anybody was curious to know.
It seems that this is a year for surprise teams. I mean, Baltimore, who really surprised everybody this year, they're having another fine season so far. Uh, they're right on the tail of the Tampa Bay Rays, and even the Detroit Tigers. They're 2 games under 500, but they're in the midst of I guess you'd have to say, a really weak AL Central race. And Texas is still holding on to a lead, which is a big surprise in the West. And boy, how about Pittsburgh hanging in a game over 500? And they're in a tough division there. And Arizona Diamondbacks, 8 games over 500, Rich. And I guess the surprise in the West, besides Arizona doing well, is how bad the San Diego Padres are. 4 games under 500. They spent a ton of money. They've got a bunch of superstars. Machado's out hurt now, but they got Tatis back. They got Juan Soto they brought in, Blake Snell, and still they can't seem to put it together.
Yeah, they were a team that I think may be there at the end. But as you said, yeah, they stocked up with superstars, and that was very unlike the way San Diego used to conduct business. And all of a sudden, they hit a gold mine somewhere and splashed out a lot of money on players. So they're expected to do better. But as you said, yeah, the D backs were in Philadelphia just recently. I took in a game, and they're a spunky team. They're, not stocked with superstars, but players sort of like the Tampa Rays that can play baseball as a team.
Yeah, and really, that's what you got to do. You got to make contact, especially now with the new rules. The no shifts and the whatever, the disengagement rule. You got to run. You got to make contact, push that line, keep that line moving, and don't worry about the 3-run home runs anymore because they'll come when they come. But I was watching the Mets last night, and they won 5, then they went to Chicago, lost the first 2 games, and then won last night big. But they only hit, I think, 1 home run all night. The other games they hit 2 or 3 home runs and lost because they gave up runs. But they had other chances and they couldn't get that base hit that they needed. And to me, everybody was trying to swing for the fences, and that's what really hurt them. So good to see that they were, just making contact and getting the base hits. So that's the key, and I think that's what we're learning from a lot of these other teams.
Yes, it is. And as we were saying, Memorial Day weekend already here. Wow, this season is starting to fly by, if you ask me. It just seems like a week or two ago that we started the season out. The end of March, it was cold, it was blustery, but now we're starting to get into that warmer weather. And baseball is going to really take center stage here. Hockey is going to be ending soon, and basketball, of course. And then baseball will have it all for a couple months until football starts up again. So
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. I love summer baseball. I like baseball the way it used to be, though. We had a story come through the wires that I actually watched the game itself, um, and that or a broadcaster for a team actually called the new rules stupid, and that was none other than John Kruk, who broadcasts for the Phillies. And it was a situation where the umpire was calling different things and the batter wasn't ready, and it was the second time he wasn't ready, so he should have been out, but they ended up letting him bat again. And it was just like Kruk just cried out, nobody knows what the heck the rules are now, and anything goes. And that's about what happened in that game. I'm surprised you won't hear about it, other than the MLB probably went back and had to talk with some of these umpires and say, hey, what the heck happened here? But Kruk's now on record, and that's good for starting to not like these new rules in baseball.
I agree with him. It's stupid. Nobody knows what's going on anymore. I think he's right. I think there are, umpire has discretion on certain things, but nothing is consistent. And the one thing in baseball that you want is a consistent umpire. if a guy calls a low strike, you want him to consistently call it because you can adjust. You don't want him, to do a low strike once and not call it again the next time. So you just want him to be consistent. And I don't think these umpires are. They'll give timeouts sometimes. Sometimes they won't. It's just it's a screwy mess so far, and I hope they work it out. But um, I don't know. Maybe they just got to give a little bit more time so that they don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, and now that you bring that up about umpires, don't forget on Twitter they have some really useful um, Twitter names concerning umpires. If you want to learn who your MLB crew will be, you can find that at the at symbol MLB umpire crews, and what that does is tweet out different games and things like that that are updated with the updated crews. And also, they have, I don't know if you've seen it, Gary, on Twitter, after the game, they'll show you the balls and strikes, what they missed on a game, and give you their percentage of how great a game has been called. And they actually rank different umpires as such. So Twitter's been a great, useful tool for me with that for keeping up with umpires and see who's the best in the game.
And all of this is heading towards the robo ump. I think. I read somewhere where a former major leaguer, I can't remember his name now, said that it's time for the robo ump. He went to a game and the umpiring was so bad that it wasn't a major league game. I think it was a minor league game. That he said it's time for the robo ump. So, I mean, it's going to be inevitable. I guess it's going to come, and but we shall see. And Rich, another story that we've been following is the trail or the trek of the Oakland Athletics and where they're going to land up. Well, it looks like it's going to be Vegas. They came to an agreement, a tentative agreement with the state of Nevada on a stadium funding structure. Per reports, the agreed upon deal includes a total of around 380 million in public money heading to the project. That is composed of 188 million from the state in transferable tax credits, with 90 million to be repaid over time from stadium revenue. Then there's 120 to 125 coming from Clark County in the form of bonds, and another 25 million for infrastructure improvements. There will also be a 30-year property tax exemption issued by the county, which has an estimated value of 55 million. And the article goes on and on to explain everything in detail. It's rather long, rather dull, but if you want, you can find it at Ballpark Digest. I believe was the site that I found this on, and it looks like the Athletics will be joining the Raiders in Las Vegas.
And that's been going back and forth. I know we talked the last podcast about, Nevada not going for this. So um, maybe they've reversed course and they see the value of having an MLB franchise. And though a lot of the exact language hasn't been released yet on this bill, um, there is quite a bit of public assistance as well, up to $380 million. That's not exactly chump change.
No, and there always is, and I guess Vegas wants to be a major league city, and they got the Raiders, so now they're going to have baseball and football, and they've got hockey, so they've got three professional sports there. They're only missing a basketball team now, and that might not be that far behind. Who knows?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
interesting how quickly, it started with hockey. They got the Golden Knights. They've been very successful there. And then, of course, the Raiders moved, and now with the Athletics. So Las Vegas is really getting uh, to be a player in the big city life.
Yeah, yeah, and it's a great city. I've been out there a few times. Not since the Raiders have relocated, but maybe the next time I'll go is after the Oakland A's get out there, and that will be another destination. You fly out.
Yeah.
If your favorite team happens to be playing them at some point, you might want to build a little vacation around it. And there's already a ton of things to do in Vegas, but this would be the icing on the cake for a lot of baseball fans.
There you go. And a lot of gamblers too.
It's a great website, by the way, there that you just cited, ballparkdigest.com,
Hmm.
all about ballparks.
Yeah, it's very interesting, and you find out a lot of stuff there. Rich, I have a rant this week, though.
Uh oh, cue the music.
I'm watching the Met game the other night. I don't know if every team does it or whether it's just the Mets do it, but they have uh, a thing that comes up, and of course it's a sponsored thing. That's why they do it. They sell this ad space, I guess.
Uh huh.
But it's the hardest hit balls stat, and I'm watching this, looking at this, and it's maybe a minute or two. And it's up there, but I just started thinking to myself, this is the most stupidest waste of a stat and a waste of time that I have ever seen on the television screen, and they're forcing me to look at it, and they're talking about it like it's important. It
Yeah.
doesn't. I don't care if a guy hits a ball 109 miles an hour to the second baseman. I, and two nights I happened to notice this thing. Both of the hardest hit balls were outs. None of them was a home run. None of them was a hit. In fact, all one night, all three of the hardest hit balls were all outs. And I'm thinking, who cares? What is the point of this stat? It is a waste of time. You wasted a minute of my sight.
Yeah, yeah.
That and I just baseball with all of these stupid asinine stats. Please get rid of that stupid hardest hit ball stat. And the announcers are treating it like it's important. Wow, look at that! Hey, 109. Who cares?
Well, a lot of the stats, by the way, baseball has a website called baseballsavant.mlb.com. And you can find a lot of those oddball stats that Gary's lamenting about right there at that website. I mean, from all kinds of um, strange stats that you just, unless you're a real stat geek, you're not going to like it. But apparently, a lot of these younger kids that are watching the game, and I'm saying kids in the 20s, things like that, um, they go for some of these numbers. It's almost like a video game type of thing with them, and that's the way this game has changed. It's evolved into more of numbers that we're not used to as being certain aged group of fans.
Well, and I get that, but I don't see what the purpose behind this particular stat, if you will, is. I
Yeah.
mean, to tell me that the second baseman hit a ground ball to the shortstop at 109 miles per hour. What does it mean? It means nothing. It has no meaning. It's just that he hit the ball hard. Well, we all hit. They may, stand down. Anybody hits the ball hard. unless it's a bouncer or they topped it or something. But I mean, I can see, in golf, I can see when they get the swing speed, how many miles per hour guy swinging. Okay, that makes sense to me because the faster you swing, the whole idea is the further you can, you're putting more power on the ball and you're going to hit it farther, right?
Hmm.
But a ground ball a second is at X amount, 109 miles an hour or 105, whatever. It just doesn't make sense to me, and I just had to get that off my chest because it bothered me. I don't know why.
I hear you. I hear you. Yeah, it's just one of those stats that to a lot of people like mine is sometimes war wins above replacement player. It's a great stat. You can, if you're really good, you can pile up that stat very nicely. But I only use that to almost compare what the best player is on a specific team for a specific season, like the current season, so to speak. I'll go to a site called baseballreference.com
Hmm.
and check out the team. And right there, you can go season by season or all time, and it'll tell you, all right, as of this year, you know, take for example the Phillies. Brandon Marsh right now is the top dog on WAR, 1.4, tied with JT Real Muto, which is 1.4. So you can quickly kind of see who's that better player on the team with that. But yeah, I'm with you. I'm not a big fan of arcane stats, although if you do like arcane stats, go over to Baseball Savant because that is an official MLB website and you'll get lost in stats there. Completely lost.
A lot of people say I'm lost anyway, so I guess I go.
But it's a good, that site even has graphical representations of in game stats, the way a pitcher's pitching, the current batter, game win probabilities and graphs. So if
Hmm.
you're a person that cares for that stuff, and an uber fan, a super fan, maybe you'll have a laptop or a tablet open on that screen because it's really something. It's probably what some of the players are watching in the dugout when you see them go to these tablets now. They have a lot
Yeah,
of information available.
yeah, they're on that iPad now, or whatever one they use. I don't know which. I guess it is. It probably is an iPad because they've got that connection to Apple TV, and I'm sure they got it all for nothing. Well, Rich, what else do you have on your agenda?
Well, I brought up a stat because it's the holiday weekend. And by the way, the players will be wearing a little patch, an arm patch this year. The teams are getting away from the camo wear on Memorial Day because, Memorial Day is to honor the war dead, the person that the people that gave their lives for this country, not necessarily to wear the ammo, but don't forget them. It'll be a nice rose, and
Hmm.
if you've ever purchased some from veterans or something like that, it's a nice little patch that they'll be wearing. So
That's nice.
going to be moving. But yeah, my trivia question today to you is, and I did a little research on here. What is the rarest play in baseball?
Well, they used to say uh, it was the triple, but I'm not so sure anymore. But I'll. I mean, it could be. I could say a triple play as well.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll go with the triple play.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, you'd be right. I was thinking perfect game. I guess
Oh.
there's been a lot of perfect games called, but it's rare, nonetheless. But yeah, you're right. The most rare play in baseball is, believe it or not, called the unassisted triple play.
Oh.
And of course, usually they say it's a middle infielder, either a shortstop or a second baseman. It's going to catch a line drive He can step on second and tag a runner going to second. It's a
Right.
bang, bang, bang play. And believe it or not, the last triple play turned ever,
Wait,
and
let me guess.
there's only been 15 of these, by the way, in baseball
Oh.
history.
The famous one was, I can't pronounce the guy's name. Bill Wamgas,
Yeah, yeah,
a
that's
first
about.
baseman, I believe, with Cleveland. I'm not sure if it was a World Series or not, but that's the one that I remember reading about.
Yeah, I
But I
did.
don't. Who was the last one to do an unassisted one?
The last one, believe it or not, goes back to 2009, August
Wow,
23rd, and it was none other than the Phillies against the Mets in New York.
I
Eric
should have
Bruntlett
remembered.
of the Phillies caught a line drive,
Wow.
stepped on second, and tagged a runner in the bottom of the ninth inning. So that
Oh,
that's what I really like about baseball. You just never know when these things are going to happen. It could be the first inning, it could be the bottom of the ninth. But yeah, that's the most rare play in baseball, the unassisted triple play.
so they must have had the first and second, and had the runners going with nobody out because they were either losing or the game was tied. And who was it? Eric.
Bruntlett.
You do remember him?
I do. I do.
Oh, okay.
Being a Phillies fan. But yeah, I do. I remember that play. I think I was watching a game. It was like bing, bang,
Boy,
boom,
I can't.
like
Yeah,
before you
I
knew it.
I was gonna say. It's funny because I was gonna say the Phillies, and I was gonna say Manny Trio. I don't know why he's not on the list at all, is he?
I
But
don't think so.
no, I don't know why. I just thought middle infield. I could see him doing it, but it's very interesting. Eric Bruntlett. I can't.
Yeah, he was sort of a backup for the Phillies, an extra, so to speak. So very cool that those two teams made history, and that was the last unassisted triple play so far in baseball
Hmm.
history.
It's fascinating when you get into this kind of stuff, the history and everything, that you find sometimes that guys that do these unbelievable plays, not all the time, but are like no names. I mean, nothing against Eric Bruntlett, but he's not a I don't know. He's not an everyday name. We don't know him that well.
Yeah,
Um, you know, so very interesting that it happens to be. It's like when Tom Seaver had the perfect game going, and Jimmy Qualls broke it up. He was a journeyman hitter. Against Tom Seaver, a Hall of Fame pitcher, or it's always like an unknown guy that seems to do something. Anyway, I'm off on a tangent, but that's very interesting. The unassisted triple play.
yeah, very cool. Something to think about here on Memorial Day weekend. So we hope everybody out there has a great holiday weekend, a cookout, a barbecue, whatever you plan to do. Remember the holiday as well. Remember, all those people that sacrificed their lives to bring you freedom, give you the opportunity to go to those barbecues and have that fun, go to a baseball game if that's what you choose to do. And, you know, let's not forget it.
Yep. Amen to that, Rich. Couldn't have said it better myself. So, be safe, everybody, as well. If you're using that deep fryer for the turkey or whatever, be careful around the grills because, make sure you check everything. It's maybe the first time you're putting on the old grill
Uh,
for
don't
the
do what I
season.
did a few years ago.
Uh-oh, what was that? You want to relate that story or no?
Well, a gas grill wasn't starting too great. So I had the great idea. Oh, well, I'm going to close the lid and then try to light it from the side. Well, I turned the gas on, closed the lid. Of course, the fumes build up. So it didn't really work out too well for me. You need air to mix in with that propane. So the lid, boom, flew up, and I actually took about a 6-inch fly into the air, and
Oh my
luckily I didn't get
goodness.
hit with the lid, but it sort of exploded on me. So yeah, as Gary said,
All
be
right.
careful. Don't close your lid when you go to start the grill. Keep it nice and open air. If it's not starting, you need to do something else. But yeah, have fun, be safe, and enjoy this weekend of baseball.
And we'll see you next time on the Baseball Talk Radio Show.